Now I'm in a position where I can't fail. I will physically not allow myself to fail, because if I fail, then I'm screwed, So I put myself in a position where failure wasn't an option. And that, if you step outside your comfort zone, that's where the growth happens. And that's where you're really going to find out, what you can really do.
Hello and welcome to the Bar Business Podcast, where we help bar owners increase profits, attract loyal guests, and simplify operations so you can avoid burnout and finally enjoy your life outside of your bar. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, the Bar Business Coach. Today on the Bar Business Podcast, we are joined by a great guest, and this is actually someone who is in the Bar Business Nation Facebook group. So if you have not gone over to Facebook and joined that group, you really should. But I wanted to have some conversations with some folks that are in that group that are doing some cool things and really help to continue to highlight the journey of owning a bar and what it's like starting out. So joining us today is Steve Lewis. He is the owner of the Bridge Pub in, I believe, Palmyra, New York. He is a guy who has a lot of experience in the industry. Before he bought a bar, a little over a year and a half, but has had an experience going from working in a bar down the street to owning a bar, and got to experience all these wonderful things that everyone that gets into bar ownership does. So, Steve, thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate having you here. And just so that everybody knows, because I kind of told your story, but I did a really bad job at it. So lay out for us, how did you go from bartending at the competitor's bar down the street to purchasing the Bridge Pub?
Yeah, so I guess back when I was 21 is when I started working at it's the local bar, born and raised in this town, and that's the bar we all went to. And so I ended up getting a bartending job there. From part-time turned into full-time. I was there for 13 or so years, and I was actually down at the bar that I had purchased now. Before I purchased it, I was down there having a drink, and the owner was behind the bar bartending, and she was just talking back and forth with me, saying how her and her husband were getting ready to sell, and the conversation just kind of flowed from there, and 7-8 months later, it became my bar.
Nice. So you had been bartending in the area, right? At the main competitor of the bar you bought, which I think is
Yep.
kind of amusing. But we're down there having a drink, you buy the bar, and I assume when you walked in, you're like, okay, I've been doing this for years. I have a good idea of what I'm doing. And then I'm guessing some things just started hitting you in the head, and you're going, okay, wait, I didn't anticipate this. I didn't anticipate that. Because I think for me and everybody else who's ever bought a bar, right? That's the first couple months is just like oh crap, what did I get myself into? So when you first bought the bar, what struck you, and what made you go, oh wow, maybe I didn't quite think through everything the way I thought I did?
Well, first of all, I mean, as going from a bartender to a bar owner, bartending, you think you know everything, you think you know how the place goes, you think you know what needs to be done, and there's just a million behind the scenes things, all the licensing that the great state of New York makes us get, all the insurances that cost more than my home. So all these hidden things that, if you've never run a business before, it's like, it's a culture shock, even though you're still in the same industry. You go from being behind the bar, being the face of the business, to, serving customers, to now you have to do everything on top of potentially serve customers and, get personnel in there that can do that when you can't. So I think for me, it was more or less, I had to switch my mindset going from bartender to, okay, I have a really extensive list of things that I need to learn, and learn quickly if I want to survive my first year in business. So I think all the behind the scenes stuff that you don't really take into consideration too much before you jump in.
What were some of the things that struck you at first that you, insurance, things like that, but I'm sure there were also just some nuts and bolts things within the business itself. What were some of those initial hurdles that you ran into?
I would say ordering for me, managing, how much storage room you have versus what you're going to be going through in a week. Um, And, I had all the previous owners' numbers. I could see a general idea of what they did, but I couldn't break it down to, okay, how many Bud Light cases do I need to order a week? So for the first couple months, we would run out of some things. And obviously, you can't run out to the store and get them because the liquor authority says you have to order them through distributors. So, it was really the ordering food and alcohol that really kind of was the shock at first. Um, but besides that stuff, it was for me, um, the bar had somewhat of a poor reputation before I bought it. So I was so hyper focused on, okay, how can we change the public's perception on the place, really? Um, and, in that first 6 months of owning it, it's just nonstop, 100-hour weeks. You're trying to learn as much as you can. You're trying to fix anything that needs to be fixed, and it's hectic. The first 6 months, I would say, if you can get through the first 6 months, yeah, I think you're good to go. For the most part.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. And talking about reputation, because that is something that I see a lot, right? And it's something I dealt with when I bought my bar. You buy kind of a neighborhood slash dive bar type place, which you and I have talked before. We are some of the best types of bars in the country, just in my opinion, in your opinion. We agree there. But
Yeah.
how did you go about saying, okay, this bar's been here forever. So I have to be somewhat a steward to the history, but I also have to change it because this reputation doesn't quite work. How'd you go about doing that?
Well, I started with aesthetics, making the place, updating it, bringing it out of the 1980s because it was stuck there. It had the checkered floor pattern, tiles, a lot of natural wood look, kind of
Mhm.
looked like a hunting cabin, but from the outside it just looked like a block building. It used to be a pretty well known and somewhat avoided biker bar unless you were on two wheels. So one of the first things we did was we ripped up the floor, put new flooring in. I added a whole bunch more TVs. We got the NFL Sunday ticket. We kind of geared it more towards a sports bar type of environment. Um, and we revitalized the volleyball court. So they had an outdoor beach volleyball court that they hadn't done anything with in probably 15 years. So we put a lot of money into that to revitalize that. Redid some stuff back out on the deck, just made it a cleaner, when you walk in the door, it no longer looked like a dungeon and a biker bar.
So nothing huge, but enough to make a difference in the way people think. And I know with a bar like that, one of the problems that a lot of folks run into is you have all these crotchety old regulars that come with the bar, right? And they will be against any change that exists ever, right? Especially if you're younger, they're going to look at you and go, "Oh my God, you're going to ruin this place." Uh, so you have to make those changes in one hand to increase the business, but you also really can't make those changes to an extent that scares away the folks that have been there forever. So how did you manage the regulars during this process of change?
Well, a lot of it was, I was there day in and day out. I was there every single day. So I verbally reassured them, hey, you guys, not much is going to change around here. It's still going to be the same place you guys have enjoyed coming forever. Um, bought them a round of beers, hung out, just introduced myself to them and really got to let them know, I was very open with all my daytime regulars about the vision that I had for the place and the direction that I wanted to take it. And they were very receptive of that. They agreed on a lot of the things that I wanted to change. They agreed that those things could use updating and changing. But I think it's important too for everyone listening to realize that sometimes it's the littlest improvement that can make the biggest difference. Like I was doing a bunch of little stuff around there, and then 6 months in, I look around, I go, wow, this place looks totally different. Because all those little things just compound into big results. And we've noticed that.
Well, and I think that's something where that a lot of people end up missing, right? Because they wanna go in and they wanna make a whole bunch of changes at once, which is gonna scare the crap out of these regulars we're talking about. But when you do those little changes, it's almost like no one notices it until one day they do.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be honest with you, I was kind of blind to all the little things that I was doing too until when it really clicked for me is when we had got the floor done and I go, wow, like this place, that was like my light bulb moment. This place looks totally different than it did 6 months ago. I love the direction we're going. Now what else can we do? And then once we got the aesthetics and, stuff cleaned up in there, more TVs added, that's when I started bringing in all the employees and saying, okay, guys, this is my vision. This is where I want us to go. I want your guys' input on how we get there. So collectively, because I can't do it all myself. I wish I could. I can't. And no one interacts with the customers more than the bartenders. So they know what the customers want more than I do because they're there from open till close. We're open from 11 in the morning till 2 in the morning, 7 days a week. And I'm not there that much.
Right.
So really leaning in on your team and having them get the information for you. And then, I mean, obviously you're not going to, you're not going to take off running with every single regular's ideas because let's face it, they're intoxicated and they're probably not good ideas.
Well, and that's actually I find to be one of the hard parts, right? Because you talk to your regulars all day, and you have to recognize when it's somebody that has a good idea and they're drunk, and when somebody has a
Yep.
really bad idea because they're drunk. And it can actually be the same person 2 different days, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I wanted to dive in a little bit more on something you had mentioned earlier. You said that initially the bar had kind of a biker reputation, which a lot of
Yep.
these kind of neighborhood dive bars do, and that biker reputation is one of the hardest things to get rid of, and it's gonna scare away every woman under 40 that you wanna come into your bar, generally speaking. So, how did you overcome that piece of the history?
Well, I guess I didn't really do anything specifically like I don't get me wrong, I love when a group of motorcycles rolls in there, but um we've increased the lighting in there so it's not as dim and dark of an establishment. Our background music is from playing from the jukebox isn't, heavy rock or anything like that. So we adjusted the lighting, we made it a little brighter in there. We gear it more towards, promoting sporting stuff like, our volleyball league, cornhole, darts, our pool league. Um, I guess my thing was drown out the bad crowd with a better good crowd. If
Yeah.
you're packed with good customers every night, the customers that you don't necessarily want in there giving your bar a bad reputation are going to be less likely to come there. Um, I mean, we did do some behind the scenes stuff. I spent a good chunk of money on a new security system. We have a very extensive camera system in there, two of which have facial recognition capabilities. So if someone comes in the bar, creates an issue, I can go on our system, flag them, and the next time they walk into the bar, my personal phone goes crazy. I call down to the bartender, hey, this person wearing X, Y, and Z is not allowed in there. Tell them they need to leave. And they usually only try coming back once after that. And then they say, well, I'm not going to drive 15 minutes to be there for 30 seconds and get kicked out. So,
I mean, that's probably tech that for bars has only really been available in the last couple years because nobody had the budget before.
right.
Now, one of the things that I wanna talk a little bit about too with you because you had mentioned you do darts, you do pool, you do volleyball, you do cornhole, so not only are you improving, say, the volleyball court and the deck to do cornhole and things like that. But you also created events and leagues around all these things. So what was that process like? Because I feel like for a lot of folks, they go, "Yeah, it'd be great if I had people come play cornhole every week," but they don't even know how to start on that process.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good apps that you can use for that. I know there's one of them is Scoreholio, it's called, and that's you can organize cornhole tournaments and events and stuff through there. And anybody that has the app can search, okay, within like a 5 mile radius of my home, who's hosting a cornhole tournament tonight. There's a lot of other establishments in my area that already do this, so that was easier than some of the other stuff. Volleyball, um, right from the get-go, once people started seeing, the work I was doing out on the court, um, the interest in that was insanely high right from the get-go. So that was pretty easy to get going. Um, and pool and dart leagues have been going on in this and the other local bars in the area for years. So I kind of got lucky with that. I kind of stepped into that and kind of just picked right up where the previous owners left off. But the volleyball hadn't been done in 15 years. And actually, the bar that I worked at before, the main competitor down the street there, had a volleyball court as well, and people missed it. So I said, we're bringing it back. If I can turn a Tuesday night into a higher revenue night than a Friday night, I will absolutely spend X amount of money getting this volleyball court ready to go.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you want to see how nice the volleyball court is, again, not to push myself, but go to Bar Business Nation, and there is a great video, Steve, that you guys put together that showcases your bar and really focuses quite a bit on that volleyball court and just shows a lot of people having fun. And I want to talk about that video a little bit because when you posted that in the group, I said, "Oh shit." Like I tell people, "Hey, you should make promo videos and things." And normally where I'm thinking is, "Hey, okay, we all have a cell phone. You're going to go out, take some pictures. You're going to use a little app, put some music to it." What you guys created is like a production film almost of 3 minutes of just food and drinks and volleyball and people having fun. A, what inspired you to say, "I'm gonna make a promo video for my bar where we really go all out?" And then B, what was it like doing that? Because I feel like a lot of people would look at that and they'd go, "Oh my god, that's cool, but I'm scared to even attempt to do something of this value."
Yeah. Yeah, and that was one of the most fun projects that we've done down there so far. It was obviously I waited until we got the place aesthetically how I wanted to. For me, this video was a reintroduction of our bar to the local community. So I wanted to make sure everything was physically done that I wanted to do so far. Um, but honestly, the idea came, it's silly, but I do this all the time. I was scrolling TikTok in the middle of the night, when I should have been sleeping, but I was scrolling TikTok and there was a video that someone had done for a restaurant, and it was literally a drone flying from outside the building in through the front door, doing all this crazy videography stuff inside. And I said, you know what, that's the kind of feel that I want, and I want to not much has changed on the outside of our building, so I wanted to show people that haven't been back there for whatever reason. I wanted to show them what the inside and the back area now looks like without them even having to come down. So I reached out to some people, got some recommendations, contacted this company that did it, Porterhouse Photography. They do mostly weddings and stuff, but they came down, we met, talked to them about my ideas for the place. They were more enthusiastic about it than I was. So we set up the time, and, I think we did 2 days worth of shooting. So we had 2 video production days, and I probably drove them nuts with all the text messages back and forth, like, "Hey, can we tweak this, tweak that?" Because they kept sending me proofs, and I just I I take so much pride in how far I brought that place from what it was to what it is now, that I wanted to make sure, to me at least, that that video was perfect. Because if I'm going to be putting myself out there and showing the work that I've put in, I want the delivery method to show just as much effort as what I've done at the bar.
100%. And again, I mean, I literally it's for a small kind of neighborhood borderline dive bar, if I'm allowed to say that. It's
Yeah,
probably
no,
the
we
best
love
video
that.
I've ever seen.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was fun. It was very fun. You know, you'll see me in the video. You won't know it's me because it's like the back of my head breaking up the pool stick and whatever. But it was fun. It was very fun. I really liked doing the food pieces. And they're providing me with a bunch of little shorts for socials. So, you know, for our wing night, we'll be able to post that. For, you know, our volleyball league, we'll be able to post a short video for that. So I've got a whole folder full of video shorts that we can do for socials.
So just out of curiosity, and you don't have to give me an exact number, but roundabout, what did that all cost you to get done?
Yeah, I don't mind giving an exact number. It was about $1,500.
Okay.
And that included, so yeah, it was $1,500. That was the 2 days of shooting, all the video editing, he's got a whole folder worth of shorts for me. Um, and I know not every bar is going to be able to swing, you know, a $1,500 promo video type of thing, but I think it's important to get yourself out there, especially because, you know, you've got, if 80% of the people that come into, and you've said this before, I've listened to the podcast a lot, if 80% of your people are regulars, right, there's still 20% of new customers that you want to get in there. So I wanted to focus on getting some new faces in there, or some faces that maybe went in there a long time ago, didn't have a good experience. I wanted to reintroduce them to the new Bridge Pub, not the old one.
Yeah, and honestly, $1,500 is less than I expected you to say. Because when you really think about it, right? 1,500 bucks for one video that you post online once, okay, that's really expensive. But $1,500 for a promo video that's going to be good for years, plus
Mhm.
all of those shorts, all those little cuts that you can now insert into your marketing. And really, I'm imagining off that piece, you probably have 20 or 30 different smaller pieces you get to use at different times.
Yep.
And so when you look at it as price per impression or price per somebody seeing, one post when you're going to make 100 posts out of the material, that's really not bad at all.
No, no, but I saw the value in it instantly, especially this day and age. Everyone's always got their cell phones on them, so they're always scrolling social media. Um, I haven't gone as far as to take out a Facebook ad or boost the post or anything yet, but I mean, that video, we posted it once, it's got over 20,000 views already, and the majority of them are from local people, so
Yeah,
it
and
already
it's
paid for itself. And in my opinion, if I could get 4 more regulars off of that one video, it paid for itself.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a great way to look at it, right? Because I feel like when it comes to marketing, and I mean, I've said this in the podcast before, like, watch how much money you spend on marketing. Everybody's scared of spending money on marketing because it's a big black hole in some regards. But if you can produce some quality content and get 4, 5, 6, 10, a dozen new regulars, it's paid for itself. Now, another question I want to ask you, when you bought the bar, I assume that you had to, in addition to all these cosmetic changes, in addition to trying to play with the atmosphere and stuff, you probably had to do some changes when it came to food and drink. So, what was that process like, particularly when it comes to food? Because I know a lot of folks that get into bars, they want to sling drinks, they don't want to sell food. But food is a very almost importantly, er, vitally important piece of what you're doing. So, how did you go about kind of looking at your food program and how to develop that over time? Or did you?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that. I've got some of our food special that's almost ready to go back down to the bar right now. So what we did was, right off the bat, I mean, we were preoccupied with fixing some things that were broken and repairing some things around the place. So we kind of just kept the previous owner's menu
Mhm.
temporarily, but I mean, 2 months in, we already started making changes to it. So I wanted to just stick with a basic bar food menu. And I think it's important, for the listeners, like what you start with is definitely not going to be what you end with, because over time, you're going to find better ways to do things. You're going to find more creative ways to do things. So we started off trying to do a daily special, and we quickly realized that was not going to be feasible. So what we've been doing lately is we've been running a monthly special, and you can do weekly. I chose to do monthly because um we're providing such a different level of food quality compared to what you can get in the area. So every month we pick an entree and an appetizer, and we just hyper focus on that. We still have our bar menu. You can still get burgers, pizzas, fried food, all that stuff. We've got a Taco Tuesday night. We've got a wing night. But we really wanted to let the customers tell us what they wanted on the menu. So if we run a food special for a month and we crush it, then that's something we're going to look back at and say, well, maybe we make this a permanent menu item. If we
Mhm.
barely sell any of it, okay, we did it for a month, on to the next. So we're about 5 months into that now, and we've gotten some really positive feedback on almost every special that we've run. And we try to tailor it to the season too. It's starting to get colder. This month we've got a brisket smoked chili that's on special for the appetizer. And we've got, beef short ribs and mashed potatoes, just comfort food, but it's still a meal. So
Yeah.
we're letting the customers dictate how we do that. Um, and then as far as like diving into like your food cost and your liquor costs and pour costs and all that, um, my sales rep for our food distributor is awesome. And he literally took 2 days in a row. We sat down, we calculated my cost on everything down to the spoon, down to the straw, whatever. Everything we broke it down as minute as we possibly could. Um, and then, yeah, we did have to make some price adjustments on the menu because some things were way underpriced, but that's constantly evolving, constantly.
Well, and I think that's how it always should be, right? I mean, it's just like everything else we were talking about. If you just get a little bit better every day or every month, it compounds over time. And one thing I want to kind of touch on that you had mentioned, you said I wanted to do food, but I wanted to do food better than the other folks in the area, right? And I think that a lot of times when it comes to kind of like that neighborhood dive bar place, everybody just goes, okay, let's do normal bar food. Yeah. But if you do normal bar food a little bit better than everybody else, it tends to really work out. So what made you say, "Hey, I wanna do this better. I wanna do this, but I wanna do it better than everyone else and make it a little bit nicer than what people expect?"
I mean, the honest answer is money. You know, if you provide a better product, in theory, you're gonna be busier, so you will sell more
Mhm.
of that better product. But at the same time, my girlfriend and I will be sitting around sometimes and we want to go out to dinner, and we're like, well, where the heck are we gonna go? Like everywhere sucks around here. So I wanted other couples that were having those conversations at home to say, you know what? Man, we had that special down at the Bridge Pub the other day and it was awesome. Let's go to the Bridge Pub. And that's another reason we serve food right up till 1:30 in the morning. And the majority of the other bars around here, they're either closed by 10 p.m. or they're definitely not cooking after 10 p.m. unless you want a serious attitude from the bartender. But I I based a lot of my bar ownership decisions on what I've experienced as a customer elsewhere.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I always say, don't it's not always just about what you want, but if you're out there and you know the people, and especially in your case where you've been working at the bar down the street, right? You knew what everybody in the area was already complaining about.
Yep.
So it's not, you weren't some person that was outside the bar industry trying to make it up. You were already in, you already had that local knowledge, and you're going, okay, now I just have to apply everything I've heard everyone bitch about at 2 a.m. when they're drunk for the last 15 years or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, and that I mean that helped me out tremendously. I know not everyone who's jumping into the bar business has that kind of, I guess I'm lucky in a sense that I've been working within this similar community for so long that I am kind of in touch with what the people are looking for, kind of what they want. So I guess I have a little bit of a head start on that, but I mean, we're a year and a half in, and I couldn't be happier with my decision to leave the 9 to 5 and work for myself.
Well, that's awesome. And we're running up on time, but I have one question I want to ask you before I let you go. Actually, I have two, but the first one is this. As someone who's been in this now a year and a half, if someone came to you and said, I want to buy a bar, I want to get into a bar, what is the number one piece of advice you would give them?
Well, I'd start by saying I hope you don't like sleep. but but also that's any business really. If you start any small business, you're not sleeping many hours of the night, whether you're actually working or your brain's just not shutting off, because that's what I run into. But I would say my piece of advice: put yourself in a position where failure is not feasible. And I can elaborate on that if you want. But I found that I put myself in a position, and I don't expect everyone to do this, but I did this, and it might not have been the smartest thing, but I put myself in a position, financially when I bought this place to say, okay, I know I'm going to buy this bar. Now I have to take pretty much all of my savings to put into this. Now I'm in a position where I can't fail. I will physically not allow myself to fail, because if I fail, then I'm screwed, So I put myself in a position where failure wasn't an option. And that if you step outside your comfort zone, that's where the growth happens. And that's where you're really going to find out, what you can really do. Um, so yeah, that's my piece of advice. Put yourself in a position where failure is not feasible.
I think that's a good one. Last thing I'm gonna ask you before I let you go, because I'm sure there are people listening. They're going, "Hey, Steve seems cool. I- I'm in New York sometimes. I might want to check out the Bridge Pub. How can people get in touch with you, and how can people learn more about your bar?"
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we don't have a website right now, but you can find our Facebook page. It's the Bridge Pub. We're located in Palmyra, New York. We're right on a main drag here. We're on Route 21, right in the village of Palmyra. Um, yeah, look us up on Facebook. I'm also on Facebook, Steve Lewis. Feel free to reach out with any questions. I try to be active on the Bar Business Podcast page. I will repost that promo video too to get it up to the top of the feed for any viewers that wanted to check it out. Um, but yeah, right now, really, you just Google us and it'll take you to our Facebook page. Um, yeah, I'm sure a website is in our future, but the to-do list is extraordinarily long right now.
Well, I think owning a bar, it's always long. It's just a matter of which part of it do I want to do today. But
Yeah,
we will definitely link your Facebook page down in the show notes for anybody that wants to check things out. And like Steve mentioned, we'll make sure that video is up on Bar Business Nation as well. So, Steve, thank you so much for your time and being here and sharing your story, because I think you really can be an inspiration to folks that are either just getting in or are looking at getting in and kind of saying, okay, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, you're going to work 100-hour weeks, but it's doable and you can win and you can take a place that maybe doesn't have the best reputation, but is a local staple and make it into something new and better without actually making it new.
absolutely. Yeah. And I appreciate you having me on. It's been great. I can't wait to chat again. I'm sure we will at some point here. But yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you.
That about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's insights, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you are ready to take your bar to the next level, schedule a strategy session with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. Until next time, have a great day, and we will talk again later.